Welcome to the Allocation Training video Part 1. In this video, we will cover a high-level overview of the Allocations module, including the business value for using it and how it extends the value of advanced projects by Progressus.
The main business value, or the reason we added project allocations, is that it's going to help our clients have a better understanding of their true cost or total costs on their projects. Currently, without project allocations, primarily the costs that are reflective on the project are just their direct costs, such as labor, expenses, and so forth. But however, true costs would include both direct and indirect costs. And the project allocations allows them to apply or create indirect costs based off of rates they set up in the system. And by doing that, now we can offer them the ability not only to track the costs, but also allow them to invoice for these indirect costs as well. So this will help clients who have the need to do some type of cost plus invoicing, that they can leverage this new functionality. So to understand how this works, or what the benefit is to the client, we've always had the ability to enter direct costs and charge them to a project through either timesheets, expense reports, purchase invoices, and so forth. Now we can use Project Allocator to apply indirect costs to those same costs. So typically these type of costs that they would want to track might be called burden or fringe, related to labor, overhead, and general administrative expenses. So this is an example of what the system will allow you now to do. So you'll have a labor entry, for example, $1,000, but it really costs the company much more than $1,000 to employ that person. And that extra cost has always been reflected in the GL, but we have not had a mechanism to really properly reflect that same cost to the project. And so this is just extending what already happens on GL to understand your true costs over on the project side as well. So we take that $1,000 of labor, and then we want to apply burden or fringe. So those are just costs to employ the clients or the resource, such as insurance, payroll taxes, and so forth. So the user has the ability to define the rate they want to use, such as 40%. And then this project allocator, all the three things with asterisks on them, reflect dollar amounts that are going to be created or can be created by the project allocations. So the 40% on top of the $1,000 becomes $400. And then the neat part of all of this is we can now apply the overhead to both the labor and the fringe. So we can accumulate the $1,000 of labor plus the $400 of fringe, and then apply a 20% of overhead to both labor and fringe. So that's why we get $280. And then again, G&A is applied to the three things calculated previously. So now we have $84 of G&A on top of labor, fringe, and overhead. So the total cost of that labor for this client is really $1,764. And now we have the ability to see that on the project. So let's break this down a little bit further, just to give you from a more technical perspective. So that's high level. Why do I care as a salesperson when I'm talking to clients? Now I want to just give the technical teams a little bit more understanding of where this all flows in. So we have both two things we're looking at. As far as on the left-hand side, I'm showing you the setup things that are required to make this happen. And the white boxes in both instances represent new features, screens within advanced projects. The blue and the green boxes represent things that already exist. So you'll see on the left-hand side, we have multiple setups related to rates and methods and rate types and things like that. And then ultimately, we have to link all that information to the project so that we know that the project allocator is actually supposed to do something with it. And then the bottom box in blue represents that there is some additional setup in existing screens, such as We've never tracked fringe before, so we need an expense type or code to post that new fringe to. So that's just setting up the indirect cost types so the allocator can generate transactions to them. So then from a processing perspective, we see that we would normally, in the box, the green box on the left shows that we'll get all of our transactions, labor, expenses, just as we do currently, collected. And then the boxes in the middle represent our process around generating those transactions. So we're going to run Allocation Processor, and Allocation Processor will generate the extra records. Now we can run Allocation Processor in final or preliminary. So preliminary helps us evaluate, and then final posts. And once we post in final, now we have indirect costs that we can then include on our sales invoices to our clients.
Thank you for watching part 1 of the allocations training for advanced projects by Progressus. For more training on this topic, be sure to watch our other videos in this series.